Mo, 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 Mo. Hey, Mo. We are at the next stage. It's always the next stage, isn't it? Always the next bloody stage. Most recently, we popped down to have a chat with the guys who are doing the solar installation for us. They've provided a couple of quotes. They're a bit fluffy or a bit rubbery, and that's because there's certain contingencies, I suppose, that they say that they need to plan for. So there may be some variations due to how things have transpired or what they encounter. The conversation I had with them was around making sure that whatever work we're doing isn't for a start creating a problem for them, but isn't going to require to be pulled apart in order for them to do what they need to do, that could result in whatever it is that we've done being potentially damaged or destroyed. So I popped down there yesterday to have a chat with them and show them what we've done so far. So you can see these, cables and stuff hanging here. Interestingly, when I was chatting with one of the guys there the week prior, and he said I need at least 6mm cable to run through for the fans. He didn't reply to any of my communications when I was trying to confirm the AWG, which is a bit of a shame because I went and bought, based on the research, and yes, again, this is one of those things, clarification is important. Ask more questions, persist, because even with the specs from the manufacturer's product, the fans in particular and the vent fan, and the information available online in relation to the linear meterage of cabling that there's going to be connected from the batteries and the inverter right through to the appliance, and the potential for a drop off in relation to voltage. Apparently the longer the cable, if it's not a thick enough gauge, you actually lose power as a part of the process. But if you give it more cable as far as a gauge goes, a diameter, then you don't experience that drop off so much as far as when it gets to the other end. So I threw all of that data into ChatGPT as well, and GPT came back and said, yeah, look, there's 12 AWG which is being run, and that's 6mm cable apparently, or 6mm squared. Everyone seems to use different bloody terminologies, and it said based on the appliances and the length that I also need a 6 AWG. So it's double, more or less, the size of the other cable. It's not cheap. There was probably $800 worth of this. There we go. Here's the thin one for a comparison. It's all sitting right down here. So we've got two lengths of the 12 AWG, and then we've got the 6. So I'm going to bring this closer to the camera for you so you can see the difference between them. And yes, I'll put tags on the ends of these so they know, okay, this cable goes from point A to point B without needing to try and eyeball trace it or potentially run a current through it. So let's have a look at that. 6 and 12. So you can even see the gauges based on those two, how different they are. So there you go, 12 and 6. Bloody big difference. The top one's the 6, the bottom one's the 12. The top one's expensive. The 6 was about $28 a metre. The 12 was about $7 a metre. Now, of course, I'm not going to look at the situation and go, well, let's just run this $7 cable because I'm a tight ass. I actually want the stuff that's being wired in to work. So it turns out I don't need this much as far as the gauge goes. This would have been fine all the way through, but even for these fans. So the bloke who I was talking with there, he said one thing. The guy who specialises in these installs, I thought they both did, said something else. Now, I've been assured that the 6 AWG cable won't go to waste. It'll be able to be used in other parts of the setup and the install, connecting batteries and all that sort of stuff. But there's a 9-metre run, 11-metre run, and a 4-metre run. There's 23 metres of this stuff. Now, unless they need to use this to run the DC to DC, which they might, there's going to be a hell of a lot of this cable left over, which we can't get a refund on because JCar just don't give you refunds on that stuff. And it's an unfortunate additional expense because when they run this stuff through, they're going to charge us for that as well. So we're going to be paying for the cable twice, and hopefully we get value or use out of what we've already bought, and they're not charging us for that for other areas. Big lesson in there. And I'll be watching their pricing and their quotes too, because the last thing anyone wants to get is ripped off, and it's not going to be a cheap job. The equipment that we've purchased, and we got it at a good price, the 3 200 amp hour batteries, the 2 350 watt panels, the multi-pass with the DC to DC 50 amp. There's also a touch screen to be able to see what's going on, and the controllers, everything else that goes in there is around about $10,000. The fit off is going to be about $10,500. So we're looking at pouring over $20,000 just in the solar into the van. Now, the Sparkies are charging about $145 an hour at the moment, which I think is probably fair market rate-ish, but they'll be charging $145 an hour for unskilled labor too. I know I was in a similar industry in a previous life, had unskilled people working with me, and I was charging them out at skilled rates. That's just what happens in the industry. You don't charge out an apprentice at apprentice rates. You charge the apprentice out at a tradies rates, and you pay the apprentice rates. Anyhow, long story, shortening it up, cables are run. They may need to pull some stuff out. We have got the insulation up. They should be able to use the existing Toyota wiring that's running through there, just snip it off and rewire that in to be able to put LEDs in and switches based on the conversation. So we've got some mounts for the fans, which I just need to put some screws in to be able to tighten them up. And they've already got the holes and the cable fed through. Cable will be ready fed through at a thinner gauge, and they'll be set up. So the next step that we have is building in the cabinetry in this area that I'm sitting in. So I've got a bit of marine ply here, 12mm, that's going to go up against the drawers that have been installed. So two 500mm drawers. Going to create a cavity that's sitting immediately here to my left. Going to build the cavities or the carcasses for the slider drawer on this side and the slider drawer on that side. So you're going to be in a drawer very soon. Promise I'll take you out before we actually do build it. Not take you out, because my wife won't really, I don't think she'd be happy with that. So yeah, I'll take you out of the vehicle before I put the drawers in, and that way you're not stuck in a drawer forever. Okay, not funny. I'm not cutting that out either. That's where we're at, and hopefully with what we're doing, it's just going to make life that little bit easier. The end goal is I've got 4 days to work on the van, taking 2 days leave off work. So I'll be doing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. In that time, I want to be able to get this structure built and have the bed frame fitted, or at least sitting on top. It doesn't need to actually be firmly fixed, but enough for us to be able to use it for a couple of weeks, because we'll be bouncing between house sits. And I also want the guys who are doing the solar install to see what's going on top, where it's going to be positioned, so they know what sort of height they've got to work within, and they can also see what kind of footprint they're able to occupy. The setups that I have seen of theirs that they've done, they've been extremely efficient on space utilization, which is a big plus for us, because if we're able to leverage some of this cavity space for storage, lift the bed up, and then stuff can get stored under here that we're only going to need to access once every couple of months, then that's going to be a huge win, because we will need some additional storage space. Not that we will need it, we'll definitely use it. So that's what I'm going to get stuck into. Let's just get this work done.
It's not me and you, it's I and I. One life, one source, one most high. I and I come from John, no lie in the truth. Same flame in the elder, same spark in the youth. Know me and you, know them and we. One light shining eternally. I and I come from John, no lie in the truth. Same flame in the elder, same spark in the youth. Know me and you, know them and we. One light shining eternally. See the lion, see the dove. Same heartbeat, same word, love. From the river to the holy land. From the mountain to the desert sand. Skin might change, tongue might sound, but the soul of I and I is always found. Don't get fooled by the flesh and name. The breath inside, we all the same. Jah made the tree, Jah made the sea, and planted that same root inside of me. Not just me, not just you, but the whole wide world is sacred too. I and I come from John, no lie in the truth. Same flame in the elder, same spark in the youth. Know me and you, know them and we. One light shining eternally. I and I rise, never divided. Jah in the heart, truth can't be hid. I but it's in your chest where the secrets lie. Not in books, not in scroll or star, but in the quiet between the heartbeats are. Every breath a sacred sign, every soul a thread of the divine. Old souls whisper through banyan trees, teaching peace in silent breeze. They say don't reach far, don't try to prove, just sit with love and let it move. The oldest path, the softest tone, is learning how to be alone and known. Temple of the heart, light without flame, speaking no words, still calling my name. Kindness is gold, compassion the art. Wisdom lives in the temple of the heart. What's the truth the sages knew? Love that sees all the way through. What's the fire that doesn't burn? The heart that gives, expecting no return. Where's the teacher? Where's the start? Right here now, the open heart. No throne above, no stone to kiss, just presence in a moment like this. A hand held soft, an honest tear, a listening soul that stays near. The masters came, the prophets taught, but the heart still says what they forgot. Temple of the heart, light without flame, speaking no words, still calling my name. Kindness is gold, compassion the art. Wisdom lives in the temple of the heart. Temple of the heart, light without flame, speaking no words, still calling my name. Kindness is gold, compassion the art. Wisdom lives in the temple of the heart. Oh, money, pardon me, open wide, let the light come through. Temple of the heart, I return to you. JJ Round, JJ Shine. Peace in my heart, no need to run. One love rising like the morning sun. We chant the name till the work is done. Wake up slow, feel the rhythm of the day. Incense burn and chase the dark away. Drum and bass lift the clouds and the fear. Every breath I take, the divine is near. Let it roll like thunder. JJ, I sit in awe and wonder. JJ run, JJ shine. Peace in my heart, no need to run. One love rising like the morning sun. We chant the name till the work is done. In the garden of my soul, the lotus grows. Truth is a river that forever flows. From Babylon's stress to a holy place. Every mantra brings a warm embrace. Shanti, Shanti, feel the healing start. Reggae rhythm with a sacred heart. Who brings the light? Ram brings the light. Who calms the mind? Shyam all the time. Who lifts the soul? Hari takes control. And where we going? Back to the whole. JJ Ram, JJ shine. Peace in my heart, no need to run. One love rising like the morning sun. We chant till the work is done.
Wow, okay, what a day. It has been full on. The focus has largely been on getting, as you can see, the carcass in and the runners. So there will be another set that'll come up on this side around about here. So it's going to give us our dry goods storage area. And the other one's going to be probably around about here, maybe a little bit higher. So it's going to be 110 millimeters from the top, I reckon, because we need to have enough space on that shelf there for the appliances to get installed. So we've got all the electrics on the back here, just behind this panel. There'll be another panel, as you've probably seen, I've been measuring up for panels to be facing off on here. We'll have a GPO there, which we're going to be able to then plug power board or any leads into that we want to be able to set up as the kitchen slider comes out. So this top drawer here is going to be where the kitchen workbench slider will come out. It'll be some additional prep, and the plan is to build it so that it's a drawer with a top, and then when it comes out, the top is able to then fold away and then maybe even have a double fold down so that we've got an increased preparation work area in this immediate footprint. So it'll come out about 1 meter. It's pretty decent. Probably more going to be utensils and stuff like that on the top shelf, maybe some other dry goods. But we've really, like when we first planned for these drawers to go in, the anticipation was that we were going to have about 1100 as far as the footprint goes. But that was taking into account a much bigger space that we'd occupy towards the back in that footprint there. So that back area you can see there, the plan was to be able to make that about 490 for the batteries to be installed in. But what we did was we've cut the recess out at the bottom of the fridge there, so the slider can actually sit over the top of it. It's probably going to be good too as far as airflow ventilation for the fridge in a little area goes, but that's brought us back another 12 millimeters on the other side, which is good for us to be able to utilize from a footprint point of view for the batteries. So the batteries are about 485 from one side to the other. The internal dimensions of that cavity now is 500 millimeters, which 15 mil play to be able to put the batteries in gives them heaps of space to be able to work with. My assumption is that's heaps of space. The other sliders, what I'm planning on doing with these is there'll be a wall that'll come up on this side of the fridge and one on that side. To take into account the protrusion of the nuts, I'm going to cut some little, or drill some little pockets to recess in so I can get the 12 mil marine ply hard up against the edges of this fridge slider. I know there's some people out there who are probably a bit concerned saying, but you need to have ventilation and airflow space around your fridge so it doesn't overheat. That's not going to be an issue because we're going to have breather holes cut all around the sides and along the back as well. So there'll be airflow inside the entire cavity. The top of the fridge slider, there's going to be about a 45 to 55 millimeter space, which in that space there'll be a 30 millimeter slide out table. So bottom sliders down here. Sorry, you can't see that, can you? The bottom slider down here is going to be a bench seat. So that'll be about a 360 millimeter bench seat. This will be a 200 millimeter bench seat on this side. Then there'll be drawer, 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 and over the top on the fridge, it's going to be a table that slides out. So there'll be enough space for air to be able to, hot air, to rise up above the fridge and come out around it. It'll be able to bleed off through the bleeder holes that we're going to cut, or the breather holes that we're going to cut into the panels that go up on the sides and along the back, and it'll be able to flow out throughout the van. That's probably going to be good for us too, because any additional warmth that we can get in there, if it's particularly cold, is going to be helpful. And if it's too warm, then we can just crack the door open a little bit at night, and the airflow coming in and out will keep us cool as well. The fans and everything getting fitted in the top, that'll draw out all the heat as well. It's going to be fantastic. So the plan is, at this point in time, I've got 2 more pieces to cut to size here. I'll mount the runners to those boards before they go in. I'm also going to mount the L brackets, because you notice I'll put brackets in down on the bottom to help fix the panels in place. There'll be brackets that'll come along the side onto the panel on both cases, but also from the floor down. To be able to attach those properly, I'm going to mount them to the panel first and then put the runners on the panel, line them up and get them at the same height. So then it really is just a case of screw the panels down into the floor and screw them into the side as well there, and then they're done. Checking to make sure that they're all plumb, they should be fine. Then it's about measuring up what sort of footprint are the drawers going to occupy. The bench seats are going to be pretty easy. This side in particular being as thin as it is at 200 odd mil or 220. I should be able to get a nice decent piece of timber that's 30 by about 260 and just get that trimmed down. The other side's probably going to be a little bit more challenging, so I might need to find out about getting a custom piece of timber for that. So I really would like it to just be one solid piece rather than a couple of planks that have been, you know, doweled together, whatever it might be. So that's tomorrow's project, because I've got to bugger off. The guys who are doing the solar install for us have asked us to not fit off any finishings on the roof or the panels on the sides. So that's going to make it a little interesting when it comes time to put the masonite panels back on the sides. That side should be fine because it's only going to be one little join there that I've got to take into account with the brackets going across. This side here, I'm probably going to have to cut some slots and feed things through, but we'll figure it out either way and we'll make sure it's all nice and tidy and secure. Then it's building up the cupboard cavities up towards the front, to the left and right of the drawers. But it's an interesting process. It's been, I wouldn't say challenging in a negative way, it's been challenging in a good way. It's pushed me in some regards, not just the build itself, but where we are at the moment. There's no level ground around here, so I can't trust the spirit level. I have to go for right angles, and starting by getting the floor as flat as possible was the important part. Trusting that the manufacturer actually had a floor that was flat across the board. Leap of faith there. But yeah, the van right now is sitting on probably a 10-degree incline on the hill up that way, and about 7 to 10 degrees this way. So all the weight's on the back corner of the van at the moment. And you really see it when you're standing here looking at it because of the weight of what's been installed. You can tell that the passenger rear tyre has got a little bit more weight being carried by it than the drive rear or either of the front tyres. Working on unlevel ground, that's interesting. So if you're planning on doing a reno on a van or something like this, mate, if you can get a flat piece of ground to work on, bloody hell. Okay, look, even the driveway here, there's nothing about this block of land that's flat, or the driveways on it. The flattest thing that there is the house. And, you know, obviously they've had it built, so it's level. But how'd you be living in a house and your bedroom's on an angle? You know, blood rushing to your head. Well, that's it. I'm going to stop waffling. I'll catch you on the next one.